Have you ever found that the harder you try to make something happen, the less likely it is to happen? The more you actually push it away, the more resistance you feel in that process. And a big reason for this is because it's in trying really hard, we're not aligned. It's like we're swimming upstream, not going with the flow, not taking the right action at the right time, but instead trying to control everything, trying to force. In this video, I want to talk about the art of not trying, or Wu Wei as it's known in Taoism, which is effortless action. And I think a lot of times when a person hears, don't try, it's kind of like, well, don't do anything. But that's not the case. In this video, I want to talk about what it is, how you can actually start mastering this and practicing this in your life to have more inner peace, to manifest or bring forth that which you want with more ease, with less struggle, to go through life with less stress and inner turmoil. Because a lot of times we do try to go through life controlling everything, forcing things, and it's because we're attached to an outcome. We're attached to an outcome, and that is scarcity consciousness. We've attached to something because we feel like we need it to either improve our self-worth, to survive, to enhance ourselves in some way. And it's not being aligned with that greater intelligence that is within you, that is not separate from you, and that governs life, the unfolding of life. Call it God, call it universe, whatever you want to call it, whatever works for you. But trying, forcing, attachment, these things all come from not being aligned, from living from the ego, the self-concept, which sees itself as separate and therefore needs to try and force everything to happen, to try and make things happen. Because to the ego, to that self-concept, to that limited logical thinking mind, if it's not constantly hustling, striving, forcing, it's not going to happen. It's not going to work out. And that's simply not the case. So to not try is to not force, is to not try and control, but rather to take action from being, from presence. Because in acting from presence and beingness, we can receive insights. We can be more in tune with our intuition, which is always guiding us. And we tap into that creative intelligence that is, again, call it God, call it universe, source, whatever, that will help you take the right steps, the right action, rather than relying on your own understanding to try and get things done. It's a very paradoxical concept, if you will, this idea of effortless action. It takes practice, because to conceptualize it isn't to practice it. To conceptualize it is to think about it and try and wrestle with it in your mind. But that in and of itself is trying. You're trying to master it. It's Wu Wei, or the art of not trying, or effortless action, is about letting go, completely letting go. And I talked about this in another video about detachment and the path to detachment. And it's not about being a robot where you don't care about anything. It's about returning to self-realization, understanding that you're not separate from anything. Understanding that you're not separate from the source of all creation, from all abundance. And when we begin to understand that and realize that, Why would we need to force anything? Why would we need to try and control everything? We would just live from a place of alignment, understanding that now is the time to act. Now is the time to move forward. And now, right, and there's other times to rest. There's other times to not take action, but rather allow things to unfold. By taking this effortless action, it's like you're swimming downstream, floating or flowing downstream, rather than swimming upstream, trying to force your way against life. When we go at it with ourselves, our own limited consciousness, our ego, against life, God, universe, it's exhausting for one. We burn out, and you feel like you do have to always be striving. This is where stress comes from. This is where inner turmoil comes from. It's by attaching to life or attaching to outcomes, resisting life, by identifying with the ego, identifying with the self-concept that needs to try and control everything through this scarcity consciousness, this lower state of consciousness that sees itself as separate. So the key is to begin to come back to self through presence, through beingness, through letting go of the attachment. We let go of the attachment by just being aware of it. You don't have to try to let go of the attachment. You don't have to try. It's not about trying. We always find a way to try. We always find a way to try and work hard at something. This is purely about taking a step back and relaxing and coming into being. This is the foundation of effortless action, of detachment, of raising your vibration. It's nervous system regulation. On a physical level, you are regulating your nervous system. When you're regulated, think about two people. If one person is regulated and one person isn't, the person who's not regulated is going to be buzzing around all over the place, looking around, trying to find the next thing, or they're constantly trying to force things. They're operating from fight or flight. They're moving really fast. They're like I said, they're buzzing around. The person who's regulated is at home within themselves. They're more methodical, more intentional, more mindful. They don't feel the need to rush around or try really hard. They're in a state of beingness. So through practicing meditation or just mindfulness, slowing down, we come back into presence. We begin to regulate ourselves. And through presence, we begin to align with that higher consciousness. We raise our vibration to align with that. And through that, you begin to see the right next steps. It's like the path begins to become clear to you. Whereas before, it wasn't. And imagine if you're like lost in the woods. If you're lost in the woods and the sun is going down, you're frantically trying to find your way out. So you're going to run all over the place. You're frantically searching for the path to get back to your car or whatever. Whereas through coming back to presence, mindfulness, beingness, alignment, it's like you see the path that the dysregulated person couldn't see. The regulated person had to really fight and try to find their way out. Things begin to unfold for you. See the magic of the unfolding in life. You trust the unfolding. You're not relying on your own mind anymore. And through this, you're much more at peace. You're just putting one foot in front of the other. Not trying doesn't mean that you're not taking action. It doesn't mean that you're not putting in effort. It means you're in flow. when you are taking that effort, that action. And if you've ever been in a flow state, you can work for hours on end and could feel like half an hour went by. It doesn't feel like work. It's like something comes over you in that time when you're in flow. It's the optimal balance of challenge, engagement of your mind, something you're passionate about, and time just melts away. You enter a state of almost timelessness, pure presence. That is effortless action. So getting into the flow state is a very crucial component of that. But you can't be in flow if you're not present, if you're really trying and attached to an outcome. If you've ever been in flow, you know that you can't force it. It's the creative process. Life is a creative endeavor. If you want to create something in your life, it is a creative endeavor. And to be in flow is a very powerful state to be in to create the life that you want effortlessly. Ideas come to you, insights come to you, but it doesn't come by you trying to figure it out, because the harder you look, the less you're going to find. The more you seek, the harder it is to find things. And this is kind of goes through for everything in life. You can't try to be enlightened, because when you try to grasp onto something, it slips through your fingers. It's not there. The essence of effortless action is beingness. Through beingness, through presence, you're no longer identified with this self-concept. You are in the process completely. You're flowing with the process, the unfolding, taking the right next step through presence, not through attachment. When we're attached, we're seeking, we're forcing, we're resisting, we're dysregulated. When we're aligned, we're not thinking about the outcome necessarily. We're just in the process of it. I think this is where something like writer's block comes in. If you're a writer, or if you're engaged in any creative processes, even speaking, creating YouTube videos, creating content, if you try to think about what the next thing is, or how you're going to get to writing that book, or the end process, the end goal, the end outcome, you cut yourself off from flow, from presence, from the step that's in front of you now. But through beingness, through the art of not trying, effortless action, you're not worried about the outcome. You're here, right now, with your breath. There is no future. There is only right now. And the words, the writing, the whatever it is that you're engaged with just happens spontaneously. It happens through you. Not necessarily from you, because you're now tapped into something greater than yourself. And so it's happening through you. It's a spiritual endeavor. It's a spiritual process. Not really endeavor, because endeavor insinuates that there's something that you're going for. You're not. That you're not going for anything. You're just being. It's letting go of the idea that you have somewhere to be at all, because you're not trying to get anywhere. You're letting go of the trying by returning to the essence of what you are, which is a spiritual being, not a spiritual doing. The doing comes from being. And it was and can be difficult for me to even come back to. It's a very fine line. It's almost like, if you've ever seen Harry Potter and he has to get to platform 9 3/4, and in order to get there, he has to push his cart through the brick wall at the right time. And then you see, like in, I think it was the second one, they missed the time slot and he just runs right into the wall. It's kind of like that. There's a delicate balance to coming to this state within yourself. And the key is to not try, to let go of trying, but to let go of that which tries, that which is striving, which is that lower level of consciousness, that self concept, that ego, that is operating from scarcity or lack, that is attaching or resisting things. And the moment we start to judge the process, tell ourselves, okay, how am I going to do this? It's like you're walking on a tightrope, and the moment you look down, it's like, imagine the tightrope is between two skyscrapers. I'm sure we've seen pictures like that. The moment you look down, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe how high I am. And you're going to lose your balance. You're going to lose your focus. Or the moment you start thinking about the next 10 steps ahead of you instead of the step you're on, you're probably going to lose your balance and fall off. The key is to remain in the now, in the present moment, not thinking about how it's all going to pan out, not thinking about what's going to happen next, but trusting that the unfolding will show you the next step when you get to that point. And in my life, when I've been in this state, everything works out in a way much more perfect and divine than I ever could have planned it to be myself. And I never could have even seen how that was all going to play out anyways. It's like a surprise. And the surprise is almost like the gift that you get for coming back into being, by aligning, by trusting that which is greater than yourself. It truly is effortless. And there's no words that can give you this state. It can only be experienced. Though even, this whole video and everything that I'm talking about, the spiritual texts, other videos or podcasts, they're just words. They can't actually give you the experience. They can help lead you to that experience, but they can't give it to you. They're only gonna give you concepts in your mind. The key is to take the awareness that you have and practice it, because through practice you come into that direct experience of it. And everything that I say or the spiritual texts say would start to make sense. Because there was a time when I read about this stuff in books, or I heard about it, and it kind of made sense. Like it was very kind of inspiring to hear about, but I had a very difficult time with it because I was trying to get there. How do I think my way to get there? You can't think your way. Got to observe this. Observe the ego that is trying. And don't try to change it, because that's also trying. It's about pure observation of self, of this. Through awareness, that begins to dissolve on its own. The reactions, the patterns, the trying, the striving, it begins to dissolve, and you come into this beingness. Now, it's very simple to get to. Simple doesn't always mean easy. It's a practice. And I've used this analogy in many of my other videos, where it's like strengthening a muscle. The more you do exercises for that muscle, the stronger that muscle gets. But you wouldn't expect to walk into the gym on your first day and you know, be able to lift the heaviest dumbbell for that particular muscle group. This can be, to the mind, a more, advanced spiritual concept. And by thinking your way to it, it is very advanced. But by practicing beingness, by practicing self-observation, you realize it's just the essence and the nature of what you are. Trying is the outdated way of doing things. Alignment is the way of inner peace, the way to discover purpose, the way to attract, the way to create. Alignment is not separate from presence. It's not separate from consciousness, self-awareness, whatever you want to call it. Again, these are all just words. And my favorite way, the most effective way for me that I have found to come back to this place within myself, that is myself, I should say, the self, is meditation. And meditation doesn't have to be some crazy ritualistic thing. You don't have to sit in the full lotus position to come to this state. You don't have to do a bunch of affirmations or, mantras or anything like that. I mean, I haven't. I think it's just the process of observing yourself, slowing down. I think a lot of times we try and find the answers. Again, there's that word. We try to find the answers in the page of another book, in another profound video, in a podcast, in whatever it is. And that actually keeps us stuck. The life is showing you the way. Everything that you need to live the life that you desire and come to this state within yourself, this place, is through life. Practicing presence. Again, slowing down, observing yourself, breaking the patterns of reactivity, regulating your nervous system. And you begin to see that life is always showing you the way. It's always giving you the lessons and the teachers outside of you. All you have to do is remain present, and through that almost emptiness of mind, the insights come. The inspiration comes. The ideas come. The right next action comes. But you can't possibly get to that place if you're operating from scarcity, you're operating from that ego consciousness, that self-concept that is trying and forcing and attaching and resisting everything. You can't come to this place if you're always stimulating your mind, cluttering your mind. Think of this as a cup. If the cup is full, you can't put anything else in there. The cup you have to drain the cup. It has to be empty. There has to be empty space in the cup in order for it to have any use or functionality. It's no different with this, beingness, presence, gaining creative insights, creative inspiration, being in the flow state. It's emptiness. It's the essence of not trying, of effortless action. And it's very, again, paradoxical, because you would think that in order to do the effortless action, maybe you'd have to be full of thought, or you'd have to be thinking a lot. No. No, we try to use the logical mind to get everything done. But the key is to not let the logical mind, this mind, the conditioning, to use us, but for us to use it as a tool. And you can only use this as a tool when you take a step back from this into presence, into pure awareness, through just sitting here. You don't have to go anywhere to be present. A lot of times I think we think that, okay, I need to go to a retreat, or I need to, be out. I think nature does help, but I need to go somewhere to achieve this. You don't need to go anywhere. You are presence. You are presence. You just need to come back to yourself. And it can be very uncomfortable sometimes, especially if we're used to living reactively, used to being on autopilot or living from fight or flight. The idea of slowing down or being present is probably extremely boring, extremely uncomfortable, and it sounds useless. Like, what's the point? But it's the essence of living. To not come to this place is to not truly live. We just live in our mind, in this tiny little room. Imagine if you had a massive, beautiful mansion, and all you ever did was stay in a tiny little room in the cellar of that mansion, in the basement. Tiny. Like a little broom closet. And you thought that was life. That was you experiencing your beautiful mansion. It's not. You have a whole beautiful house to live in. The same is true with life. A lot of times we just go through life living in this tiny little illusory mind. And we think that it's life, but it's not. There's a whole reality, objective reality out there, and a whole undiscovered, untouched, infinite source of everything here, but it's actually nothing. Seems like nothing, but it is everything. So, I hope this helps. Again, a lot of this stuff, a lot of paradoxes, a lot of stuff that your mind can wrestle with. Like, mental masturbation, just thinking. And it feels good to think. But you can't think your way to effortless action. It's all beingness. Presence, slowing down, being with your breath. It's the way. You are the way. Life is the way. Right now. Practice this regularly, every day. And you will change. Your life will change significantly. Because as you begin to regulate, your view of the world changes. It opens up significantly. You see the opportunities. You're open to receiving insights. But when we're constantly trying to find, okay, what's the answer going to be? How can this work out? What's the next step? How can I make this happen? You push those things away. It's like they run away from you because we're operating from scarcity. We're trying to chase something. From an energetic perspective, we're emitting that frequency of lack, and then we get more of that. If you tell the universe you're looking for something, it'll show you more things to look for. It's not going to give it to you. You're going to have to keep searching around for it, but it won't be there. Because you're telling the universe, your energy, that you don't have it, that you're looking. But through alignment, you come back into the source of everything. And then it begins to appear right in front of you. But it starts with this. Starts with regulation. Starts with pausing, breathing, sitting with yourself. As I talk about in pretty much all my other videos, it's a daily practice. It's a muscle that we strengthen of coming back to self, not living from the conditioned mind, the autopilot living, the ego. It's not about condemning the ego. It's not about saying, this is terrible, I don't want this, whatever. It's seeing that the ego as well is part of the whole. It can help you if you just watch it and observe it. Because what pushes the ego away? We can conceptualize these things and we can say, okay, that's just a thought, it's a negative thought. Okay, get away, get out of my head, I don't want to think of that. That's the ego. Well, who is thinking that? Is it awareness? Probably not. Your awareness, you became aware of the thought, of the need to strive, the need to try, to attach or resist to something. The awareness picked up on it, and then we assigned the ego, the spiritual ego now, assigned an interpretation to that. And now saying, oh wait, I don't want that. Don't touch any of this. Observe everything. Anything that can be experienced can be observed through awareness. This is the path to, I almost want to say everything. It is the spiritual path. It is the way. You are the way. It's the self-regulation, inner healing, all of it. Beyond the concepts, beyond the words of this video, beyond the pages of a book. It's a practice, and we have to practice it. So, hope this helps. You come back to yourself, so you don't need to try as hard. You don't need to force. You can be. Beingness is the way. You are the way. So, I'll see you in the next video.